How did China transform into a global powerhouse in AI and semiconductor technology? In the last quarter century, we've witnessed an astonishing metamorphosis in the global technology landscape. The dragon, China, once known for its mass-produced goods, has emerged from its chrysalis to become a global powerhouse in advanced technologies, specifically artificial intelligence and semiconductor technology. This rapid ascendancy was no accident or stroke of luck. It was a calculated move, meticulously planned and executed by the Chinese government. With a potent cocktail of government support, massive investment, a relentless focus on education, research, and development, China has surged ahead in the global tech race. China's tenacious pursuit of technological dominance has borne fruit in various forms. Chinese companies have been at the forefront of AI research, churning out advancements that have caught the world's attention. Tech giants like GGV, IntelliFusion, SenseTime, DeepGlint, and Yitu have made significant strides in the field, despite being blacklisted by the US government for their alleged support of the Chinese surveillance state and human rights violations. In the realm of semiconductors, China's prowess is equally impressive. Companies like Semiconductor Manufacturing International Company, or SMIC, have become key players in the global semiconductor industry. SMIC's growth particularly underscores China's ambitions and achievement in this space. But the question remains, how did this dramatic transformation come about? How did China manage to finance this rapid technological development? But how exactly did China manage to finance this rapid technological development? The answer might surprise you. The architects of China's tech ascendance are not who you might expect. As it turns out, American venture capital firms have been instrumental in fueling China's surge in technological advancement. A recent congressional investigation shed light on this unexpected role. A report published by the House Select Committee on the China Communist Party, CCP, uncovered that 5 venture capital firms, namely GGV Capital, GSR Ventures, Qualcomm Ventures, Sequoia Capital, and Walden International, have been the major players in this narrative. These firms have been injecting billions of dollars into Chinese AI and semiconductor businesses, some of which are tied to human rights abuses and the People's Liberation Army, PLA. What's particularly striking is that these investments have been made despite the United States' extensive efforts to prevent the transfer of sensitive technology to the People's Republic of China. The report points out, U.S. venture capital flows have undercut these efforts by funding and providing intangible support to the very same companies that export controls and other regulations are intended to isolate. The numbers involved are staggering. Over $1.9 billion of funding went to AI companies like GGV, IntelliFusion, SenseTime, DeepGlint, and Yitu. These companies have been blacklisted by the US government due to their support of the Chinese surveillance state and human rights violations against the Uyghurs. Additionally, the committee claimed that at least $1.2 billion in funding was provided to 150 semiconductor companies. Among these, Walden's early support of Semiconductor Manufacturing International Company, SMIC, China's leading producer of high-end semiconductors, stood out. The committee tied Walden to $125 million of investments in SMIC and affiliated companies like SJ Semi and Galaxy Core. In a twist of irony, these American companies have inadvertently played a key role in building China's tech empire. The implications of this are far-reaching and complex, raising questions about the nature of global tech competition and the unintended consequences of venture capitalism. But where exactly did all this money go, you might ask? Well, it's quite an interesting journey. The money trail leads us to some of the most innovative and controversial companies in China, many of which are making significant strides in AI and semiconductor technology. Let's start with AI. Over $1.9 billion of funding from American venture capitalists found its way into the coffers of companies like GGV, IntelliFusion, SenseTime, DeepGlint, and Yitu. These firms are at the forefront of AI research and development, creating technologies that are revolutionizing industries from healthcare to entertainment. However, they're also mired in controversy, having been blacklisted by the US government for their support of the Chinese surveillance state and alleged human rights violations against the Uyghurs. Then there's the semiconductor industry. At least $1.2 billion in funding was funneled into over 150 semiconductor companies. These firms are helping China catch up to and potentially surpass global leaders in semiconductor production. A standout recipient of this funding is Semiconductor Manufacturing International Company, or SMIC, which is now China's leading producer of high-end semiconductors. Walden International, one of the venture capital firms under scrutiny, was an early supporter of SMIC and related companies, tying it to $125 million in investments. But it's not just about the money. These investments have also bolstered the credibility of these Chinese firms, giving them a competitive edge in the global market. And in some cases, the venture capitalists didn't just provide funding, they also offered their expertise and connections, further enhancing the capabilities of these companies. It's clear then that the investments from American venture capitalists have had a profound impact on the rise of China's tech industry. But as we'll see, their influence extends well beyond the realms of AI and semiconductors. These investments have had far-reaching implications, not just for the tech industry, but for geopolitics as well. But it wasn't just about the money. While billions of dollars flowed into China's AI and semiconductor industries from American venture capital firms, these investments were not the only contributions made. There's a whole other facet to this story, an aspect that goes beyond mere financial transactions. These venture capitalists also brought with them a wealth of intangible contributions. You see, the venture capital game isn't just about injecting cash into promising companies. It's also about providing expertise, guidance, and connections, all of which can be just as valuable as the financial backing. As they invested in China's tech industry, these American firms also brought along their in-depth industry knowledge, their vast networks of contacts, and their strategic advisory skills. Take the case of Walden International chairman Lip-Bu Tan, for instance. Tan wasn't just a source of funding. With his extensive experience as the CEO of Cadence Design Systems, he brought valuable insights and subject matter expertise to the table. Cadence is a company that develops electronic design automation software. This is the kind of technology that Chinese giants like Huawei are keen to replicate. While holding board seats at key Chinese tech companies like Semiconductor Manufacturing International Co. and Advanced Microfabrication Equipment Co., Tan and his peers at Walden were able to coordinate business opportunities and provide invaluable counsel. This is an example of the kind of intangible contributions these venture capitalists were making. They weren't just writing checks. They were actively involved in shaping the direction of these companies, providing them with the tools and knowledge they needed to thrive. From talent acquisition to market opportunities, these venture capitalists were instrumental in bolstering China's tech capabilities. In the grand scheme of things, this goes to show that the influence of these venture capital firms extended far beyond their financial investments. They were also key players in building up China's technological prowess, providing them with more than just funds. They provided expertise, connections, and strategic guidance that have proven to be just as crucial in the rise of China's tech industry. In many ways, these intangible contributions were just as important as the financial investments. The US government has not been idle in the face of this challenge. In fact, it has been actively trying to restrict China's access to American technology. This has involved a multi-pronged approach, including export restrictions, pressuring allies, and prohibitions on investment in Chinese technologies with potential military applications. Let's delve a bit deeper into these measures. The US has been restricting the export of its developed chip technologies in an attempt to cut off China's access to this crucial resource. This is not just a unilateral move, but one that involves international diplomacy as well. The US has been pressuring its allies to adopt similar restrictions in a bid to create a united front against China's growing tech influence. Additionally, the US has barred the sale of most AI accelerators in China. These devices, which are crucial for the development and implementation of AI technologies, are now harder for Chinese companies to acquire. This move is a clear demonstration of the US's intent to limit China's growth in the AI sector. Yet another measure has been the prohibition on US investments in Chinese technologies with potential military applications. This is a significant development as it directly targets the sources of funding for these technologies. However, these measures have had their challenges and limitations. One major issue has been the implementation of these restrictions. It's one thing to announce restrictions, but enforcing them across the global technology market is a whole other ballgame. Moreover, these measures have also faced criticism for potentially stifling innovation. The global tech industry is highly interconnected, and limiting access to technology could have a far-reaching impact on the pace of technological advancement.
Despite these efforts, the flow of American capital into China continues. Many venture capital funds have even split off their Chinese divisions to comply with the executive order prohibiting investments. While this is a step in the right direction, it remains to be seen whether these measures will truly stop the flow of American money into China. As the report warns, these splits may insulate some types of capital flows from regulatory scrutiny, potentially allowing the continuation of American investment in Chinese tech. This is a complex issue, and the tug-of-war between the two global powers continues.
As we look to the future, the question remains, can the US curb China's tech rise? There are several possible scenarios to consider in this high-stakes tech competition. First, let's consider the regulatory landscape. The US has been tightening the screws on tech exports to China, putting pressure on allies to do the same. But regulations can only go so far, especially when the technology in question is as ubiquitous and essential as semiconductors and AI. If China continues to innovate and build its own tech capabilities, it could become less dependent on US technology, rendering these regulations less effective. Another factor to consider is the flow of investments. The congressional investigation has shed light on the role of American venture capital firms in China's tech boom. Facing scrutiny, these firms might think twice before pumping more money into Chinese tech companies. But will this be enough to slow down China's tech surge? And could this vacuum be filled by investors from other countries, or even by China's own burgeoning venture capital scene? Finally, let's not forget the tech companies themselves. Despite the challenges, Chinese tech companies like SMIC and SenseTime have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability. They've managed to grow and innovate in the face of restrictions and adversity. If they continue on this trajectory, they could potentially challenge the dominance of American tech giants. In conclusion, the future of tech competition between the US and China is anything but clear-cut. It will be shaped by a complex interplay of regulations, investments, and the tenacity of the tech companies themselves. As we've seen, no single factor can determine the outcome of this competition. Only time will tell how this high-stakes tech competition will play out. China's rise to dominance in AI and semiconductors is a story of ambition, investment, and unintended consequences. It's a tale that we've unraveled today, peeling back the layers to expose the intricate web of funding and support that has given birth to a new tech giant. At the heart of this narrative, we've found American venture capital firms, whose financial injections have fueled the rapid expansion of China's AI and semiconductor industries. GGV Capital, GSR Ventures, Qualcomm Ventures, Sequoia Capital, and Walden International. These 5 firms have been instrumental in pumping billions of dollars into Chinese businesses, some of which are tied to human rights abuses and the People's Liberation Army. But it wasn't just money that these firms brought to the table. Their intangible contributions, ranging from consulting to talent acquisition and market opportunities, have been equally significant in propelling China's tech growth. This development raises a myriad of complex issues. On one hand, the venture capital investments have undercut US efforts to isolate Chinese tech companies and prevent the transfer of sensitive technology. On the other hand, these funds have helped to stimulate innovation and competition in the global tech landscape. The US response has been to tighten regulations, restrict exports, and even bar the sale of most AI accelerators in China. Yet, the effectiveness of these measures remains to be seen. As the committee notes, many venture capital firms have split off their Chinese divisions in an attempt to comply with new regulations. But whether this will truly stem the flow of American money into China is still uncertain. This intricate dance of tech and geopolitics underscores the complex interdependencies of our globalized world. As we move forward, it's clear that the decisions we make today, whether it's where we invest our money or how we regulate our industries, will have far-reaching implications. As the line between technology and geopolitics continues to blur, the decisions we make today will shape the world of tomorrow.